There have been a number of high-profile plagiarism scandals in politics. For example, in 2016, Melania Trump gave a speech at the Republican National Convention that directly plagiarized a 2008 speech of Michelle Obama's. Here's some of the text from Melania Trump. You can see that it is a direct copy of Michelle Obama's words.
Barack and I were raised with so many of the same values. Like, you work hard for what you want in life, that your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're going to do.
My parents impressed on me the values that you work hard for what you want in life, that your word is your bond, and you do what you say and keep your promise.
That you treat people with dignity and respect, even if you don't know them, and even if you don't agree with them.
That you treat people with respect. They taught and showed me values and morals in their daily life. That is a lesson that I continue to pass along to our son. And we need to pass those lessons on to the many generations to follow.
And Barack and I set out to build lives guided by these values and to pass them on to the next generation, because we want our children and all children in this nation to know that the only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard for them.
Because we want our children in this nation to know that the only limit to your achievements is the strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
Plagiarism is the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. Most people are aware that you shouldn't do this, that it's unethical to plagiarize. Where it gets murky, however, is that many students aren't completely sure exactly what constitutes plagiarism. In this presentation, we are going to try to make that clear. What constitutes plagiarism? Most people know that you shouldn't be stealing large chunks of text from others, but plagiarism can be more complex than that. Cutting and pasting a sentence, or even a part of a sentence from another source, and putting that into your own work as if you've written it, that's plagiarism. Taking somebody else's work, and cutting and pasting it into your document, and then slightly rearranging the words or changing a word here or there, that's plagiarism. Borrowing descriptions or definitions directly from Wikipedia, that's plagiarism. Here is an example. This is a Wikipedia entry on Ernest Hemingway. It says, Ernest Miller Hemingway was an American author and journalist. His economical and understated style had a strong influence on 20th century fiction, while his life of adventure and his public image influenced later generations. Now, imagine a student is writing about Ernest Hemingway. So, they go to Wikipedia, and they start cutting and pasting bits and pieces from the Wikipedia entry, and they come up with the following. Ernest Hemingway's thrifty and understated style strongly influenced 20th century fiction. His audacious lifestyle and public image also influenced later generations. This is plagiarism. Notice that the student substituted a few words, thrifty for economical, audacious lifestyle for life of adventure, and rearranged a few things and changed a few other things, like had a strong influence to strongly influenced. These changes are just cosmetic. These are not the student's own words. These are not his or her thought. These are the words and thoughts of the original author. One could have rewritten the text without having any understanding of Hemingway, or of what a thrifty or understated style even means, or what his lifestyle was. When you're writing about others' ideas or writing from sources, you need to understand and digest the material well enough so that you can put it in your own words. This means you're probably going to need to go to multiple sources to adequately understand the subject matter. As you're collecting source material, it's okay to cut and paste passages from other people's work to get everything in one place, like in one Word document. But put those passages in quotation marks, so you don't later forget that those aren't your words. And when you go to write about it, work from memory, never start with someone else's text, and just move their words around. By the time you're ready to write, you should understand the material well enough to be able to start from scratch. Draw your own conclusions, come up with your own ideas on the topic. That's what you need to do to avoid plagiarism. Another thing that students are often less aware of is the concept of self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism is recycling your own writing or your own data from one published paper to the next. It's also unethical. In addition, you may be violating copyright laws from the journal that owns the published paper. You are not supposed to plagiarize even from your own work. One possible exception to this is that there may be some duplication of text within the materials and methods section. For example, there may be only so many ways to explain what you did to the cells. So, if you've used the same experiment across multiple studies, there may be some text repeated. It shouldn't be a complete copy, but if you explain some of the materials and methods in the same way, in multiple papers, journal editors are usually fine with that. But everything else should be new. Authors also sometimes engage in something that's akin to plagiarism, which is duplication of their old results and their old data. Sometimes an author will take a dataset that's already published, and maybe add a little bit of new data, or tweak the data slightly, and present the whole thing as a new paper. This is misleading because it's putting things out there as if they were two independent pieces of information supporting a hypothesis when there isn't. It's padding the medical literature with superfluous papers, and there's also, of course, a copyright issue. Interestingly, there are research being conducted to go through the literature and figure out exactly how prevalent is plagiarism in the scientific literature. There was a story in Nature where they reported that in pilot tests of the plagiarism detection software Crosscheck, some journals found that 6% to 23% of submitted manuscripts had to be rejected due to plagiarism. That is a very high percentage. Another study used automatic detection software, and then they manually confirmed plagiarism in submitted papers. They found that 8% of the papers had plagiarized other people's work, and about 3% involved self-plagiarism. So again, we're ranging around 10% of the papers having significant plagiarism. Another group of researchers did a study of plagiarism in the personal statements for residency applications. These were doctors who were applying to do their residency. The researchers used a plagiarism detection software to review about 5,000 personal statements, and then they confirmed suspected plagiarism manually. They found that 5% of essays had clear evidence of plagiarism, meaning 1 in 20 of the doctors applying for residency had plagiarized. So, plagiarism is a significant problem. Be careful in your own work to put everything in your own words. In summary, in order to write something original, you have to go to enough sources so that you can figure out for yourself about the topic you are writing. You have to understand enough to be able to generate new ideas, and that's what you need to do to avoid plagiarism.